I can hear you loudly and clearly. Yes, sorry if I was muted. The biggest challenge here has been the sheer number of people. There was a time earlier in the day where we were being told that people joining the back of the queue here in London at the High Commission were facing a wait of 6 or 7 hours to get to the front of the queue and cast their vote. I've just spoken to the steward at the back of the queue at the moment, and he says that right now people that are joining will be able to vote within, I think, around 2.5 hours. But there are still thousands and thousands of people in the queues here at the High Commission. The Deputy High Commissioner earlier in the day told me that they were processing over 800 people an hour, and she was very satisfied with how things were going from a logistical perspective. For those people that were in this queue for hours and hours, that will have been difficult at times, not least because there were times when it was raining on them. The sun is now out, mercifully, for the people who are queuing. But most of the people in the queue have been in very good spirits. It'll be interesting to see whether those very long waits have any impact on turnout over the course of the 2 days that polling is open here at SA House. In Trafalgar Square in the centre of London, because it may be that some people hear about those 6 or 7 hour waits and decide not to come along on Sunday if they were planning to vote. But clearly, for the majority of people who've come today, they've been telling me that it's very much worth the wait, that they wanted to do their duty, they wanted to cast their ballot. But things are moving along. The queues are still moving, they're coming down. There's still just under 4 hours of voting due here in London, but officials have been saying throughout that anyone in the queue at 9 p.m. local time when voting is due to end will be able to cast their vote. So if those queues are still long at 9 p.m., it could well be that we're in for a late finish there.
So, Olly, it seems as though there is a bit of excitement where you are right now. Would you say there are any notable trends in voter engagement or even enthusiasm compared to previous elections?
Well, the High Commission told me yesterday that last time around, 2019, there were around 11,000 registered voters for the UK, for this London site, and turnout was a little bit under 65%. This time around, nearly 25,000 registered voters, so over double last time round. And they were expecting that turnout would be above 65%. So again, we will have to wait and see what the numbers tell us once voting is concluded late on Sunday. But there is great enthusiasm here from people who are saying they just want to come do their duties and cast their vote. Different people in the queue will tell you about different priorities when it comes to issues. Some will say that they want to see change in the country. Some will talk about the economy being their priority. Others will talk about crime. And a number of other issues as well. There are a lot of young people here. That's partly probably because of the demographic of some of the expat South Africans that live in the UK at the moment. So it's certainly a very enthusiastic crowd. There's been a party atmosphere at times. Lots of people are carrying coffees. Other people are carrying beers and champagne and wine. Lots of flags, lots of Springbok shirts, lots of singing, lots of dancing.
Thank you so much. That's Olly Barratt giving us an update from London. Let's turn to the USA now, and Mike joins us. Mike, how important would you say this particular vote is, and what has the response been so far?
I mean, to speak to that, a lot of people, earlier on, we had very few people come to the polls. As I mentioned earlier on, over the past couple of hours in Washington, D.C., only 1,500 people are registered to vote. However, the number is slowly increasing. Yesterday, when they opened polls, only 52 people turned out to vote. But as we speak right now, the number is standing good, way over 250. So the expected final outcome when polls close tonight at 9 p.m. should be is 1,500 people.
Let's expand on those current trends. How do you see the participation of South African voters abroad even evolving in future elections? Are there any emerging trends or factors that might influence this?
I mean, there's a lot of things to consider in this perspective. I got to speak to a couple of folks today, and what I can say is, especially among the nation's youth, a lot of people seem to be very enthusiastic about the upcoming elections. We spoke to a couple of first-time voters, and you could hear them shout and scream as they drop their ballot into the box. Showing that excitement for them, they want to see change. For them, they're asking for more things. One of the issues that they really asked on the incoming lawmakers to address is, of course, the discussions around employment. Another issue was around health. So there's a lot of the young people who really want to be involved and want to see change in South Africa.
Mike, before I let you go, from a personal perspective, how important would you say the role of the media is in covering these elections? And are there particular angles that you'll be looking at?
I mean, media is playing a very, very pivotal role in terms of covering South Africa's elections. But not just South Africa's elections. I'm here in the United States. We're also going to have elections coming up in a couple of months. The media is playing a very pivotal role in educating the electorate on who's doing what, when, and how. I think those are very pivotal questions, allowing the voter to make a more informed decision when it's time to cast their ballot.
Mike, I do understand that you also got the opportunity to speak to a number of people taking part in this election or casting their vote. What was said there?
Well, as I mentioned, a lot of them really are looking forward to the final outcome of everything. One thing, as I mentioned, was that they're looking for change. Now more than anything, what they did applaud is how South Africa's democracy continues to grow. Right. So they really applaud how South Africa continues to grow since 1994, when the nation's first elections were held. But before I do go, I spoke to a couple of folks, and this is what they had to say.
I think this is an important year in South Africa. I think the South African constituents are looking for change. And I think this is the most contested election. So, yeah. I think casting my vote, it means that I'm taking ownership of change in the country. So casting my vote is very important.
It's very important. Democracy, of course, is one of the pinnacles of life. So just being able to be here, I'm a dual citizen. And, just to be sure, that democracy is envisioned in South Africa like it was, after 94, to have a voice at the table at the end of the day. I do a lot of work. I'm actually faculty at a university in the US, at Tulane University, so I do a lot of work in South Africa. So it's important, that I just have a voice at the table, because at the end of the day, I'm South African and then American second.
Special thanks to our guests, that's Olly Barratt and Mike Hove, giving us an update on elections abroad and also the participation of expat voters. It would seem that there's a lot of excitement in London as well as Washington so far.